Many Southern communities passed laws to separate blacks and whites.
Bow your head until they pass, because if you didn't, it could be considered disrespectful.
He was shot 6 times.
For I know the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, and the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass. When the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats its wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars. For he must fly back to his perch and cling, when he fain would be on the bough a swing, and the pain still throbs in the old scars. And they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings me when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore. When he beats his bars and he would be free, it is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings.
The Caged Bird served as the poem Sympathy by Laurence Dunbar's central image. The poem uses this image to highlight the suffering and longing that comes with being locked up and treated poorly. African Americans' experiences are metaphorically represented by the physical and psychological agony of the bird inside the cage, which represents their fight against racial prejudice and their desire for freedom. The bird captures both the individual and the group experiences of oppression by its continuous, futile attempts to flee, showing the enduring faith and determination of individuals who suffer injustice. In the poem, the caged bird represents Black African Americans and their struggle, embodying the human spirit yearning for freedom, hope, and equality. The bird's pain, frustration, and persistent fight reflect the resilience and strength required to endure oppression. On the other hand, the cage represents the external barriers to freedom, racism, segregation, discrimination, and systemic injustice that limits the bird movement and potential. These barriers confine the bird, creating a boundary between the desire for freedom and the reality of oppression. While the bird symbolizes the individual's internal struggle and resistance, the cage signifies the external societal force that deny freedom and equality. In Laurence Dunbar's poem, Sympathy, several figures of speech contribute to the central theme of oppression, the longing for freedom. Metaphor is central, with the caged bird symbolizing African Americans trapped by racial injustice. Personification is used to give the bird human emotions as it beats his wing and feels the pain, reflecting the intense emotional struggle of the oppressed. Imagery vividly depicts the bird's suffering, such as the blood still drops and old scars, enhancing the reader's emotional connection to the bird's situation. The irony of the bird's continued attempts to escape, despite the cage being a symbol of oppression, underscores the futility and persistence of the struggle for freedom. This contrast between the bird's hope and its reality deepens the impact of the theme of enduring hardship. These figures of speech work together to emphasize the pain of confinement and the unyielding desire for freedom, mirroring the African American experience during Dunbar's time. Sympathy by Laurence Dunbar is a powerful poem that reflects the struggle and social injustice faced by African Americans during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Dunbar uses the metaphor of an imprisoned bird to represent the yearning for freedom and the struggle for freedom. The poem highlights the racial discrimination faced by African Americans who are often subjected to slavery and face extreme poverty. It serves as an act of resistance against societal limitations. Their enslaved status was like a prison, preventing them from enjoying life fully. Instead of experiencing the finer things in life, their primary concern was merely surviving each day amid severe thirst, hunger, and violence.
Sympathy is commonly seen as a protest racial discrimination in the United States, and Dunbar was a black man born to parents who had previously been in slavery. It is intricately linked to the background of civil rights in the U.S. during that time. This period followed the Reconstruction era, which despite its initial promise, failed to secure meaningful freedoms for emancipated black Americans. Instead, the South saw the implementation of black codes, which are racist laws designed to restrict the rights and mobility of the black population, ensuring the continued dominance of white people in political and social well-being. Jim Crow laws were a set of state and local laws that enforced racial segregation and discrimination against African Americans in the southern United States from the late 19th century until the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. Named after a minstrel show character, these laws institutionalized many of the inequalities and injustices faced by black people, including segregation in schools, public transportation, restrooms, and other public facilities. They also disfranchised African American voters through literacy tests and poll taxes. Dunbar's poem, with its metaphor of the caged bird, powerfully reflects the constraints and struggles faced by African Americans, embodying the widespread racial oppression of the time and the persistent longing for true freedom and equality.